Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Tuesday, the 6th of February. With McShane, we continue reading through Paul's letter to the Romans, today chapter 9, an ongoing discussion by Paul about the law in the Old Testament and the grace of the New Covenant. And he makes the point, it's not the children by physical descent who are God's children, but it is the children of the promise who are regarded as Abraham's offspring. And he makes a point that it's not Ishmael, who was a descendant of Abraham, the son of Abraham, that was regarded as his offspring, but it was Isaac, the son of the promise, who when God said it will be through Isaac that your offspring will be numbered, Isaac hadn't even been born yet. And it was God's purposes that were working themselves out. And he continues in verse 10, not only that, but Rebekah's children were conceived at the same time by our father Isaac. Yet before the twins were born or had done anything good or bad, in order that God's purpose in election might stand, not by works, but by him who calls, she was told, the older will serve the younger. And he's making the point, they'd done nothing. They weren't even born yet, and yet already God is saying it is going to be through Jacob, not Esau, that the line will go, because that was God's purpose, that was God's sovereign choice. And so we have Paul making the point quite clearly that it's the sovereign choice of God. Now, if this were all that we had, you'd end up with a very fatalistic, well, it's up to God, we can do nothing. But at the same time as we have this, we have other passages in the New Testament where Jesus says, come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden. And he says, if anyone thirsts, let them come to me, and I will give them water to drink. In Revelation, he says, I stand at the door and knock, and if anyone opens the door, I will come into him. And so, quite clearly saying, there's a whole lot that you need to do. The offer is there. It's up to you. And we can end up with is it this or is it that, in an either-or situation. And we actually need to get to the point where it's both and. It's both God's sovereignty and our responsibility. And with plain human logic, we'll often come to a stumbling block and we'll say, I don't see how it can be both. Surely it must be one or the other. But Scripture's clear. It is, both of them are taught. And so we end up, like with the Trinity, like with so many aspects of theology, saying we don't understand it. But it is clear, Scripture's clear, that it is God's sovereign choice. God is sovereign. He's in charge. He will work his purposes. It's his plan. He will do it. But at the same time, we're also told quite clearly, come to me. And there's a call to us, and we need to respond. And we hold both of them together. There's a tension between them, but we say, it's not one or the other, it's both. And that is our faith. And so we cannot understand God and how he works. If we could, I certainly wouldn't worship him, because he'd be such a small God if I could understand him. But we can't understand him. We have his revelation, and we hold on to that. So be encouraged that God has called you. And if you sense of God's call, you need to respond and say, yes, Lord, here I am. I'm coming. I answer. I'm making that response. We have both of them together. And walking with that, we know God's presence. We know God's forgiveness. We know God's grace. And we are blessed.